Welcome to the You Can Man podcast, episode 34. I'm Josh.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Dave.
And on this week's episode, toilet talk.
All right, guys, welcome back to the You Can Man podcast, where we believe what one man can do, you can do as well. Guys, how was your week? Y'all said that nothing much happened with you guys this week, right?
It's been a
kind
slow
week. Kind of a down. I'm not going to say a slow week because I've been pretty busy with
Yeah,
work.
it sounds like Dave and I have been real busy with work.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but
I'm just copying you.
yeah, so it's all I've done is work this week, so I don't have a whole lot going on.
We're also
Okay.
we're nesting over at my house because my wife's gonna have a
I don't
baby.
like
right.
I'm not a fan of that word. It's a weird word to me.
Yeah, any day she's gonna have our third child.
You guys
so
are going to have a baby real soon.
We're just
right?
like cleaning the house and getting rid of clutter, and it's still not enough, but
Yeah.
we're doing our best.
Good for you and congratulations.
Thanks, buddy.
I did repair the 1998 Ford Explorer.
Whoa. Really? What was wrong with it?
The driver's side door lock actuator.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Which
right.
actually, it turned out I'd already replaced the door lock actuator. Okay, so there's two actuators.
Per door.
Yes. Come on, Dave. There's the power door lock actuator, but then there's another actuator that's like within the hinge. Not the hinge, the latch. Sorry, wrong word.
Yeah.
The latch. So I replaced the door lock actuator, and then when I was taking it out, I was like, I've replaced this before. What the crap, you know? So I was like, well, I guess it's the other one. I went ahead and replaced the door lock actuator.
Again?
But then I also replaced the latch that has the door lock actuator in it as well.
While you're in there,
This was
While
the
I was in
passenger
there-
door? You went through all this?
No. The driver's side.
Okay.
So for probably a couple weeks.
Dude, were you reaching out the window and...
No, I had to. Well, I guess I could have done that.
Yeah.
But I was opening the back door, reaching all the way forward and popping the door open. I was like, enough of this. And so I changed it. It works great.
Good for you.
It even sounds really good when you close the door. Sounds like more like it would
like
when
a
it was
new car door closed?
because the latch was all worn out,
Yeah.
right? So it was all kind of loose and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So yeah, it's great.
Satisfying.
I think next I'm going to actually take the bottom part of the seat off, like the leather, and I'm actually gonna put a new pad, like a foam pad.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do it
Yeah.
too because you blow that thing out, right? And
Well,
it just gets worn out.
Especially this thing. I mean, it's bad. Like my back has like been hurting sitting in that thing.
I've looked at doing that before. I've looked at, number one, just replacing the entire seat. Wildly expensive if you go like
You can't even get it.
You,
I mean,
you can get them, but
Not a 1998 Explorer.
no,
You
that's
gotta
correct.
Go to the junkyard.
But
for
that's my question: is where are you gonna?
I'm
We're
just
gonna
going to go to Hobby
shape it.
Lobby.
You just
Yeah, I'm
shape
just
You're gonna make it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Look, at this point, what does it matter what it looks like, really? I mean, I'm just going
it's
to...
a 98 Explorer.
It
doesn't
could get
matter.
It could get pretty bad. I feel like.
Well, all those shows that used to be on television, like not overhauling was respectable, but Pimp My Ride and the
just
like.
the cheapest
well,
stuff.
But whenever they did upholstery work on the seats and like the door panels, I was like, man,
Yeah.
that is a cool skill to just build.
It's certainly a
something
skill.
from scratch. Like
well,
that.
I'm curious. Is the cover? Are you gonna be able to reuse that?
Well, yeah, I'm going to use the same thing.
the leather?
I hadn't really dove into...
I will
how
be
I'm gonna do
interested
this.
to see because
There's,
I've always wanted to do it.
There's some guys on YouTube that like
I'm sure.
recondition leather with this like epoxy stuff.
Yeah.
It looks super scientific, but they do it.
Yeah, so I'm going to try it. We'll see. I'm at like 189,000, maybe 188,000.
How is that
That's so
possible?
not bad.
How's that possible?
What do you mean?
That truck's so old, and I guess you don't drive anywhere.
It sat there. The last owner, it just literally sat there.
He was like an old dude, right?
Yeah, it had under 100,000 miles when I got it. I think it had like 98,000 miles.
Nice.
And how old was it at that time?
That was 2010.
Dang.
And so 2019. So
I love
put-
old
22.
reliable cars like that. They just there's
I'm
nothing
just-
better.
I really want to get 200,000 miles out of it before I would ever consider,
It's a milestone, right?
But I'm just gonna keep rolling with it, man. At this point, it's like it looks like crap. But hey,
You should take it to the spa and get it like all waxed up and stuff.
I've thought about it. I think it's beyond that point.
No.
I mean,
Just run it through the car wash.
You could get some.
I
of it
don't know.
back.
You can use my car wash subscription, which I'm not.
oh, can I?
No, you can't.
Oh,
But
How
if
do
you
they
could, then
know?
I'd let you.
How do they know?
So it's a sticker. It's a sticker,
On your car.
and
I
it's
thought it was like a
scored, so you
number.
can't like take it off and stuff. But I only did it for like the 1 month. I haven't done it since. then.
okay. That's good because it's a waste of money.
It's not a waste of money. It's not a waste of money.
Investment.
It's money well spent.
That
All
one
right.
car wash.
Anything else, guys? You good with
We're
that?
good. We can get into it.
Yeah, I was gonna do an Instagram stories thing on me fixing the Explorer, but it was just it's like trying to show like the inside of the door.
It's a lot
and
of
all-
work.
It's just like I got to get this done, so I just did it. But
Yeah.
anyway, so that made me feel good to fix that. But let's get into talking about toilets, guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
So pumped.
I can't believe we haven't. We're at what 30. This is our 34th episode,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah.
And we've really not talked a whole lot about toilets.
That's true.
We
Yeah.
talked clogs.
We did.
That was
We
as
did talk
close as we
clogs,
got.
but
Yeah.
man, as far as just everyday kind of homeowner,
It's something you use almost every day.
Yeah.
well, hopefully, but yeah, you always have problems with toilets. Everybody's got problems with toilets.
Eventually, yes.
Eventually, you're going to have a problem with the toilet. And man, there's so many easy fixes with toilets that you do not need to be calling a plumber
No.
when you've got some of these kind of basic issues. So we're going to go over some of these basic issues and how you might go about fixing them.
And I'm going to ask you guys hypotheticals on, if someone around this table had problems with their toilets, how would you fix it?
We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
I'm guessing it's you. Yeah. So not only are the repairs easy, but parts for toilets are super cheap.
They're very cheap. yeah.
It's like the parts bin at Home Depot for a couple $, almost any part you can get. So,
It seems a little bit like magic, but toilets are they're pretty simple. Right?
yeah, everyone
Pretty simple.
should look up on YouTube or just even a diagram on the internet of how a toilet works. It's very simple, and it's going to open up a lot of doors for you as far as taking on some of these projects. So let's start with some basics. These are all going to be basics, I think. Easy to do. We recommend doing them yourself. So one common thing is a running toilet. So you hear your toilet just kind of constant water running. So there's kind of a few things that can be going on, but
Step one, jingle that handle.
yeah,
you know
it's
what I'm
usually
saying?
one of two things. So if you have to jiggle the handle and that helps, that means your flange is bad.
Well, the flap, maybe.
the flap,
Yeah,
at
might
the
be
bottom.
a better term. Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a proper
Flapper.
term.
I think flapper is the proper
Yeah.
term.
Probably should have looked that up, boys.
It's on my notes. Flapper. So yeah, the thing that opens up and allows all the tank water to dump
I
into
mean,
the
who
bowl.
cares what it's actually called? I mean,
the flapper thingy.
People know what you mean
Yeah.
when you
It's
say the
big,
flapper, right?
The big rubber thing in the bottom of the tank.
Right. So you have a hole in the bottom of the tank of the toilet, and when the water's full, there's a kind of a stopper that plugs that hole, right?
And just to be clear, when we're talking tank, we're saying you're taking the lid off of the tank,
top.
Back
not
of the
not
toilet.
the not the
Not
actual
just-
bowl part, not the bowl part.
Yeah. Yeah, that
tank.
lid where you maybe have your Kleenexes up there or decorations, candles,
Decorations.
what have you.
Toilet decorations.
Yeah, if you jiggle the handle, that's a bad flapper. And a constantly leaking toilet is often a bad flapper. Those wear out over time. The rubber breaks down, and it's an easy fix.
I don't know that I've ever had to replace that.
Me neither. I think
don't
it might
think-
be more common depending on the content of your water, like the chemical
Mineral
composition,
content or something.
mineral content.
I had an issue at one point where it was running and the chain. So there's a chain
Right.
that attaches to the flapper, and the chain had gotten kind of hung up. So you just open up that tank,
Yeah,
kinda get
I've
that chain, shake it loose, and good to go.
I've had that happen before where there was too much slack on the chain. Not that's a wrong word. There was excess.
tight.
There was
Yeah.
excess on the chain, and then like somebody hit the lever too quickly, and the excess of the latch or the
got
chain
wrapped around. Yeah.
around somehow, and then it got hung up and kind of shortened it.
Yeah, which causes the flapper to stay up.
Check
Yeah.
out that chain. Check out that flapper.
Yep. Okay. So other things that can go wrong with a running toilet is a fill valve leak. This fill valve is what actually puts water back into the bowl after it finishes flushing.
Yeah.
Sometimes if your float's not adjusted properly, it allows the water level to get too high in the tank, and overflow into that
the valve,
overflow
Exactly.
tube. So if you open your tank and there's water flowing over the top of that tube down into it and you hear it running, that means your float needs to be adjusted down so that and what the float does is it shuts off that water, the new water coming into the bowl. So that's usually one of two things for your leak. You're either leaking.
And there's in the float, the mechanism has
an adjustment screw, right?
It has an adjustment screw, but then it also has its own kind of little flange. I guess for lack of a better term, there's a flange, and that's what's stopping that water flow. Now, I've had an issue where sediment will actually get into there, so it's not an issue of the float being adjusted or something like that. If they've been doing work in our neighborhood on the main water line, I'm usually home during the day, and I'm the guy that turns the water on first and gets all the sediment from the pipe or something. So I've had that happen before, and that all gets clogged up. So if you're having some sort of issues with refill, or if that's not completely closing, then check that too. And you kind of have to take it apart a little bit really. And this is going to be dependent upon the type of thing you have. I don't know what that term would be, but
all the internals of the tank.
There are differences.
There are differences. Most all of them are very, very similar.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, you may have some sediment up in there.
So I think that's the problem that I'm having. I mentioned to you guys I was going to ask a question, and so what I'm dealing with is I'll flush the toilet. It all started happening to like 2 or 3 of my toilets at the same time. Flush the toilet, and the toilet flushes, but then the refill, it takes like 30, like there's the toilet flushes and then silence, right? And then 10, 15, 20 seconds later, it starts to refill. Now, so I've been diagnosing it. Apparently it's sediment. The most common thing is sediment building up in there, and you just go in there and clean it out and good to go.
Yep. That might be the problem that I was attempting to explain. So I don't know. It's difficult to verbally.
Yeah. And if you guys are listening and you're like, oh, that sounds super complicated, literally all of these, there are thousands of videos on YouTube. If your toilet leaks, no matter which way it's leaking, you can go one by one and troubleshoot these different types of things we're describing, whether it's the flapper or the fill valve, and just look up replacement, because your toilet might need it anyway, especially if it's over like 8 years old, I would say. Like your parts are going to just start breaking down.
Yeah.
And you might as well just get in there. It's literally dollars to replace.
Well, I was going to ask you guys that, because it is one of those things that it's really cheap. It really is. So I've bought, which I normally wouldn't do on some stuff, but kind of like a rebuild kit.
Yeah,
where I don't really need all the stuff.
You don't need it all, but you're just going to do it all, right?
But I'm just going to go ahead and do it because it's so cheap.
What is it? It's like $18.
Yeah, it's under $20. If you have a plumber come out, I mean, your minimum $100 to have them come out and just start working.
Easy.
Yep.
So
because toilets aren't really that expensive unless you're getting a really nice one.
Right.
However, there's a lot of labor involved in replacing that.
Yeah.
So not unless you've got a situation where you've got a high flow toilet. If you've got a really high flow old toilet, look, don't be fixing that all the time. You probably just need to go ahead and replace it, because the cost of the water savings is going to be huge. And don't trick yourself into thinking that it's not going to flush as well, because the toilets now are designed way better. Because I think I can remember thinking that, like, I don't want to get rid of this high flow toilet.
No.
Because it's not going to flush
worse.
well. No, they're fine. The way that they've shaped the bowls and all that, they work really well.
The toilets I have, and I don't know if they're the coolest or most stylish, but they were like $98 a piece.
Stylish toilet.
There's people that care. Okay. It was like $98 a piece, and it was rated like, even Clark Howard, our local financial guru, he mentioned these on his show. Nationally syndicated. He mentioned them on the show, and then like Consumer Reports said they were like the best performing low water use toilet. Yeah. And I have literally never had a problem with those toilets. And
pro tip, this is for free, guys. You can usually get a water bill credit if you're replacing a high flow toilet with a lower flow toilet. So check your local county or city government for that incentive.
And that makes that cheap toilet even cheaper.
Because we did that, and I think we got $100 per toilet.
What?
Yeah.
That pays for the toilet. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm off on those numbers. It was like 10 years ago, but I remember getting a credit. It was a credit. They're not cutting you a check, but it's a credit on your water bill. Okay. So definitely check into that if you're looking at replacing a high flow toilet with a lower flow toilet.
All right. Still real money, though. That's good. All right.
Yeah.
We've got, next one here, we've got a rocking toilet. So this might be common. Maybe if you have an older house, older toilet, you get on the throne and you feel a little wobble in it. It's rocking side to side, maybe front to back. This is obviously due to poor attachment to the floor. Anytime there's movement, you're going to be damaging that wax seal that's under there. And that wax seal is kind of what protects the bad stuff in the toilet.
Keeps from water from coming out.
Well, and the
your
sewer
floor.
gases, though. That's really because if you look at how, when you're installing the toilet, no water should really be, or other stuff should really be hitting that wax seal. Like, I mean, it's got a pretty clear shot down through there. So I think maybe I'm wrong on this, but I mean, yes, the wax seal is there. If it, something you got to it like backs up or something like that, it is there to protect that.
Yes.
But it's also there really for, the sewer gases.
Yes,
that are
I think
not
that's
coming,
the main purpose.
Yeah, so they're not coming back up. I was going to say that there are special shims.
Yeah, that's my first.
That are made for toilets. They're actual toilet shims.
I didn't know that.
I've never used those.
Yes.
I've just used like the wooden shims. You get them at whatever big box store. That's my first thing that I'm going to with my toilets rocking is you can shim it. Put these shims
but you don't
underneath
want to
there.
be putting wood.
You can get plastic ones too.
Yeah, well, you can do that, but they make special toilet shims, which is a very common thing. If you've got especially got an older house and you say the floor's been redone and you got tile. If your tile wasn't done exactly right, you're going to have some sort of
Right. Unless you want to get into the floor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. And so that's a very common thing that you're going to do the shims. So just look for that at Home Depot. Say, I need some shims for my toilet, and they will point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and you need to get that addressed. I mean, it might not seem like a big deal, but every time that thing goes back and forth, it's breaking down that wax seal a little bit. So you could be getting like odors and things like that coming out from
or damaging
around the
your
bottom of the
tile,
toilet.
or weakening of the bolts that are coming up from the flange of the pipe,
which
there.
then could put pressure on the porcelain, which could crack that.
Oh yeah, you got all kinds of issues.
So get those things shimmed up, and then a good thing is to put a nice bead of caulk around the bottom of it as a last step for that. So cool, rocking toilet, check. Next one, this one goes two ways. It involves the lid. So one is like slamming lids. I feel like
this is something I need to do.
Until 6 years ago, this was you just never thought about it. Like you were just trained to close a toilet lid softly. I grew up with 5 brothers in the house, so the lids were up and down constantly. When these soft close lids came out,
do you guys have that?
Oh, I totally
don't, and I need
over.
them. I need
really?
them.
Y'all rich.
It's a life.
I don't have them.
It's a life changer for many reasons. Because we're Americans and we're lazy, and we just like that thing to fall. But if I do go to houses that don't have the soft close, sometimes I forget, and so I'm the guy in the bathroom just
really,
like, bam,
wow,
and
animal
get them. I thought everyone was getting them. I have them, and they're awesome.
I don't really have a need to move the toilet seat up and down. I just leave it down.
Maybe I need to step into those because our toilets now. I replaced all of them in 2009.
Okay,
it's probably time for some new toilet seats, right, guys?
Yeah, why not?
And so the other side of that is when you open them, some people are bothered by if your lid, it depends on how your toilet's built, but sometimes the lid can lay back all the way onto the tank lid and clank that way. So whenever a kid or an adult flings the lid up and it hits that, it can be annoying. So you can buy just like a little clear plastic, little vinyl rubber. Did I say vinyl rubber? A clear piece
bumper.
Just a
bumper
right there on the edge of the lip, and that'll take care of that. So that's an easy one. Another one I added to this list is seat related. I've quickly figured out with 2 boys in the house, about to be a third one. They're not accurate.
No, they're not aiming.
And
they're not even trying.
It really matters what kind of seats you got, because we spent some money on some soft close seats that we wanted to be able to sit on the lid, especially in our hall bath, because it's super tiny and the bathtub's there and there is no room for an adult to sit unless they're on the toilet.
So you don't want
while
the plastic
kids-
lid that you sit down on and
Right.
you just sink
You
down.
cave it
If
in.
you're bathing the kids, you want somewhere to sit.
Sure. Yep.
Gotcha.
We don't want to cave in the lid. So we got these nice wood, but it's they're all epoxied or like super heavy duty paint on them. Well, even those like pretty quickly get stained badly.
Ooh,
like
yeah, you
up
don't want
under
that.
like unless you're under there with a Clorox wipe, like every single time it's gonna get stained under there. So we went just back to a plastic lid on that hall one because if you got kids, and we spent some money, like I said.
Yeah,
we
you mentioned that.
Well, we thought it would be like a nice durable. We knew it was
But
wood.
yeah, right.
We were like, okay, that's dangerous. But they're like, no, it's like an epoxy coated, but it's still that urine, man.
Yeah, that's
It's
kind of
just
a bummer. Well, they're
penetrates.
animals and it's just chaos in there with kids. So what are you going to do?
So we went full plastic on the kids one, and that's what I would suggest. But you can get plastic soft close toilets. They are expensive.
Yeah,
but
man, little boys doing that.
I don't know how
man.
my mom did it.
Man, so I had two older brothers. We'll just get a little illustration here. I can remember going to the bathroom. One of my brothers would just come up behind me and just start shaking me.
Yeah,
Just
sounds about
like
right.
kind of like grab you by the shoulders, like while you're going,
Yeah.
and just shaking you. And I mean, you
That's
know,
what guys do.
once you start, you can't stop.
My mom tells a story of me when I was a kid. I was young, maybe 5.
I can't
and
believe you're going to tell this story.
there was a wicker trash basket next to the toilet, and I guess I was standing there peeing or whatever. I'm a little kid, and my mom is in the bathroom, and I turned to her and I said, and just straight up pointed to it, and I said, "Sometimes I pee in that," and I clearly remember I'd be standing there, and sometimes I would just rotate a little
Wow.
bit.
Wow.
And then go back.
Wow.
Yeah, I clearly remember doing that.
Wow.
It just made good sense at that time.
I assume she threw that out like pretty much.
I hope
immediately.
not. She got rid of my, my second toilet.
Yeah. If you're thinking
Wow.
about having kids, good luck. Okay, so that takes care of toilet seats. I think that's all the toilet seat talk we got.
All right, what do we got? Sweating toilet tank?
I've never dealt with. I don't know.
I don't.
What
think,
is that?
So here it is. I don't think it's a big deal down here
I was gonna
because
say, is it up north?
Yeah.
our groundwater is like 97
warm.
degrees.
Yep.
I think up north where the groundwater just stays super ice cold, like year round. That in the summer, if you have any humidity
Okay.
in your bathroom, that tank's gonna sweat. So
I had never dealt with that,
Yeah.
but that makes sense.
it's a thing. So for all of our northern listeners, just keep that in mind.
Well, it's just it has everything to do with the temperature,
Differential.
the differential temperature.
yeah.
Obviously.
So what's the fix there?
So if your tank sweats, try to get rid of the humidity from your bathroom. Maybe your bathroom doesn't have a vent fan, which they all should. So try to get rid of the humidity. If your house doesn't have a dehumidifier and your house is just generally too humid, you might want to look into that. But the cheap way is they actually make insulation for tanks that you can just line. You have to drain the tank, dry the sides off, and you can adhere this foam to the inside of the tank to keep it from sweating. I've even seen people use old yoga mats. If you got those laying around,
Okay.
all you guys with old yoga mats, you can use that to actually line the inside of your tank.
Okay. I mean, I guess it could become a fairly major issue if it's constantly has condensation and then that's dripping down.
yeah.
Then you're gonna,
that's a
over
problem, for
over
sure.
a while, you're gonna have some rotten subfloor issues. So take care of that for sure.
All right, next one. Weak flushing. Nobody likes the
Nobody
You don't want to
likes the
deal with
weak
that.
flush.
The low flow.
That-
Come on.
There's
causes
something
all kinds of
satisfying
problems.
It
about
does cause problems.
flushing a toilet that really flushes well.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
like a
talking
commercial.
commercial, like
you got to get out of the way of that thing.
yeah,
there's
you're like,
nothing better.
whoa, I'm glad I wasn't sitting on that. Like, I mean, there's just like got this power
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, so no one likes the weak flush. If you got a weak flush, number one culprit is usually the holes that are under the rim of the bowl. You can't see them unless you get your head down there or use a mirror. But the hole that allows water to come into the
Rushing
bowl
in.
to clear out.
I did not know that.
Yeah, those can get actually clogged with minerals. So we talked about like all
Interesting.
kinds of sediment. We're having sediment
It
problems.
feels
on
like
our
it's an
flow
old.
valve.
Like when I think about that, it seems like an old toilet problem.
Right.
So that makes sense.
Could be, but yes. I mean,
You get that buildup.
you get that buildup, the holes get smaller, and that means the flow is reduced,
Yeah.
and you got problems. So you can actually use a little mirror and a coat hanger and just go around.
No, I haven't never done that.
No, I haven't either.
I
I
do
never
always when I'm cleaning the toilet, though, I'll put the bleach
brush.
gel.
Oh
stuff,
yeah,
and
you
I'll
got to get up under there.
get it up underneath there, and then I'll do the brush. So maybe that's
If you're doing that, that probably helps.
Yeah.
So, but if you notice really low flushing power, then you can get in there with the coat hanger to clean those little holes out. So that's a good one. Let's see, a clogged toilet.
Yeah,
boy.
we've covered
that. So
I've got a story. I remember, I don't know what we put down the toilet when I was a kid, but I've got a distinct memory of my dad having to take the toilet off.
Whoa!
did he take it out in the yard?
He took it out. I don't know. It was in the yard, been in a driveway or something. I have a memory.
I feel like
of
I've
him.
heard multiple stories.
Hold on. This was a clogged toilet that he removed from?
He had to remove the thing. I don't know if we put golf balls down that thing. I don't even know.
I think my mom told a story about her dad taking, it was a tennis ball down, got in the works.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And
Yeah.
had to take the toilet out in the yard.
It's a major problem.
And so that's a huge thing. Look, anytime you have to remove a toilet, if you've ever done it, you know that, I got to get a new wax seal.
Yep.
Those are one-time use, okay? Because once they compress and stuff. So it's a big deal to take off a toilet. It's not, actually, you do it once, you're like, it's not that bad.
It really
But
isn't a big
still.
deal. It is a bit of a process. It's kind of messy, not in a bad way. That the wax seal is just kind of a mess, but that is certainly something that you can do.
So as a reminder, there is a toilet specific plunger that we need to get. It's the ones with the extension flange underneath it, so that it can get down. It just gives you that extra power, extra suction to.
Yeah, don't go cheap on just the regular old generic plunger, which is more so for like a clog in your tub or your sink or something.
Yep.
There's a specific one for toilets.
Has an extra like bulb looking thing.
Yeah,
there
on the
underneath
bottom.
it. All right. We mentioned wax seals that, if you're noticing a leak coming out from under your toilet, like if there's water,
you got problems.
and you can't see it coming from the tank, because sometimes the tank can leak where the supply goes in. It can leak there. But if you're just noticing weird water around the base of the toilet, you could have a problem with the wax seal. You could have a problem with there's a bunch of mechanics that could have gone wrong.
I had that issue at my house, and that was quite a process. Ended up having a plumber come out and take care of it. I took one toilet off 3 times. It ended up being the toilet on the other side of the wall, which was made me want to scream, but ended up getting the pro to take care of that one. But that's kind of a bigger problem if you need to take a toilet off and replace a wax seal. That is definitely doable for the UCAN Army, but things beyond that, maybe a little bit beyond what you want to tackle.
A lot of times, and I think yours was this case too, is when you like remodel a bathroom and you have old plumbing.
I ended up having to replace the pipes,
old supplies or waste pipes coming up. Sometimes there's some art involved in getting the new toilet to attach to the old plumbing works. So that's usually a lot of problems with leaky toilets like that.
Right.
So, okay. Last mention here.
Yeah, because I wanted to bring up if you've ever had a situation where you've got a crazy high water bill and you're like, I don't know what in the world is going on with this, I would check the toilets first, because it is a major culprit. I guess we did touch on leaking, valves and stuff like that, or the flap or whatever. But man, the toilet is one of those big things where it can have a small leak that you don't notice as much. You really just have to pay attention. You have to really pay attention to hear if water's running. I guess with sinks, you're visually seeing the water come out of the sink. But with a toilet, it's got the cover on. You're not paying attention to that, right? Yep. So you've got to pay attention to that. And I think it's a lot of times people just don't.
Yeah, well, it could be a situation. I know a lot of folks have, maybe a 3-story house and they have a bathroom in the basement that they never use.
Right.
Like they have young kids and like the teenagers aren't ready to move down there yet. So they just have this one bathroom that sits unused almost all the time. And that toilet could be leaking for months and no one would ever even hear it.
Yeah, you got to imagine the gallons upon gallons upon gallons of a 24/7, even just small leak inside your toilet. So check that for sure, because that's a huge culprit that a lot of people don't think about.
All right. So we have done some toilet talk. Big picture here, guys, is toilet parts are cheap.
They're very
and
cheap.
all of these fixes are readily accessible online, at like step-by-step walkthroughs of everything we've talked about. There's no reason for any of these pretty much for you to spend $100+ to have a plumber come out.
Yeah,
Like, these
I think
are
that
easy tutorial.
I think every single toilet issue, I'm going to venture to say, is
we go.
all DIY.
Oh.
I mean, I really do. I really think that.
I'm agreeing at this
I mean,
point.
if you want to talk replacing a toilet and you don't
Okay.
feel comfortable with that, okay, bring a plumber in. But even that, guys, I mean, it's you can totally do it.
You can definitely do it. I've done that. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
If you've got some problem with the actual flange of the waste pipe, okay, and what are the technical name for is it closet bolts? Closet.
Oh, you're beyond me now.
Nah, I think it's something like that. Somebody's going to correct me on the Facebook group.
Okay.
And please do. But anyways, if you've got some sort of issue with that waste pipe or something, it's super old and you have to mate it up with something new and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, you may need to hire a plumber. But any kind of internals and stuff with your toilet, guys, you got this. You got this.
Yep, no question. Okay, cool. Let's wrap it up here. And we are going to take a break. And when we come back, Tim has got this week's
it's been a minute.
segment.
It's been a minute. I feel like y'all have been doing the segments. Huh?
Welcome back, Tim.
We're ready.
Yeah.
We're ready for you.
Get ready. We'll be back.
This episode is sponsored by 1776 United. 1776 United is a patriotic and historically inspired lifestyle brand. They make the best patriotic shirts and apparel on the market today. I personally own many of their products, and if you want to don patriotic gear without looking gaudy, check them out on Instagram, Facebook, and at 1776united.com. All right, guys, welcome back. And we've got Tim with the segment. I'm very interested. He's had some agricultural or botanical themes, but he also has historical themes.
We
I'm
talked
very
kudzu.
interested.
We've talked about chestnut trees. We've had trivia.
Pears.
I don't know what's going to happen tonight.
Yeah. Okay.
Where you going?
Get ready. It's the same kind of theme here, guys. Okay.
All right.
Y'all called it it was like my 80-year-old man. kind of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we call it.
It's definitely another one down that.
Good.
Very excited.
Good.
It's a good one though, guys.
All right.
I'm going to start off with it's just like this little excerpt of kind of like a story of an eyewitness account. Okay. So I'm not actually going to just throw out what I'm talking about,
Oh, I like it.
but the topic comes out in this.
Okay.
Let's
You
do
ready?
it. Let's do it.
Okay. In May 1850, a 20-year-old Potawatomi tribal leader, Indian.
Okay, I was gonna guess.
Not America.
Tribal leader named Simon, of all
It is
names,
American.
Simon
Native American.
Okay, cool.
Pokagon was camping at the headwaters of Michigan's Manistee River.
It was not America yet.
Okay.
Wait, what year did you say? 18 what?
1850.
Totally
Okay,
was.
clearly
All
America.
right.
Okay.
Dare you.
Hey, all right.
Interrupt my story,
Everybody,
Dave.
take it easy.
It was during the trapping season when a far off gurgling sound startled him. It seemed as if an army of horses laden with sleigh bells was advancing through the deep forest towards me, he later wrote.
No.
As I listened more intently, I concluded that instead of the tramping of horses, it was a distant thunder. And yet the morning was clear, calm, and beautiful. The mysterious sound came nearer and nearer until Pokagon deduced its source. While I gazed in wonder and astonishment, I beheld, moving toward me in an unbroken front, millions of pigeons, the first I had seen that season.
Wow.
Millions of pigeons.
Guys, we're talking about the demise of the passenger pigeon.
Wow.
Okay.
I didn't know they demised.
I know. And just like the American chestnut tree, that's a travesty.
Okay. Well, I want to
Tim,
find
okay.
out why.
What is a passenger pigeon?
I will tell you, Dave. Passenger pigeon was at one time the most abundant bird in North America and possibly the world.
Wow.
Okay. No joke here, guys.
Okay.
What did he call it? An unbroken front?
Okay, listen, I got some more.
Because that sounds like a lot.
I got some more eyewitness
It's
accounts
a
here,
wall
guys.
of birds.
Okay.
Like a
This more story is from Pokagon as well. The guy I just kind of quoted here. He talked about how they took hours to pass over a single spot, darkening the firmament and rendering normal conversation inaudible.
Whoa.
Pokagon
sounds
remembered
awesome.
how sometimes a traveling flock arriving at a deep valley would, quote, pour its living mass hundreds of feet into a downward plunge.
Okay, I feel like he's being
Listen,
dramatic.
no, man, I've got more coming, all right? Just buckle up, Dave. I have stood by the grandest waterfall of America, he wrote, yet never have my astonishment, wonder, and admiration been so stirred as when I have witnessed these birds drop from their course like meteors from heaven.
Wow.
Okay? There's one account from 1855 from Columbus, Ohio, described these birds as, quote, a growing cloud that blotted out the sun as it advanced toward the city. Children screamed and ran for home. These are quotes, guys, okay?
Wow.
Women gathered their long skirts and hurried for the shelter of stores. Horses bolted. A few people mumbled frightened words about the approach of the millennium, and several dropped to their knees and prayed. When the flock had passed over 2 hours later, 2 hours later, guys, okay? Quote, the town looked ghostly in the now bright sunlight that illuminated a world plated with pigeon ejecta.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because my first question was, did anyone mention the poop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously.
My other question is, it sounds like there may have been too many passenger pigeons.
Yes, there
at
were
some point.
a few too many, I would say.
Look, as late as
If they're
18...
scaring
It sounds
children.
biblical, right?
No doubt. That's exactly what he's
I thought
talking
it was
about.
a plague, right?
People thought that, like,
the end of the world.
Jesus is coming back.
Over.
I mean, that's what he's
He's
saying.
riding on a
Right.
flock of birds.
They mumbled
millennium,
frightened
yeah.
words about the approach of the millennium. That's what they're saying. They're like, oh my gosh,
This is the
Armageddon,
darkness.
here we go.
Yeah.
What in the world is going on?
Oh, these birds be pooping on us.
I mean, can you get 2 hours over the city
That's
that these
pretty
birds
incredible.
pass by?
And you
Okay.
could probably hear them like in your house.
It is said that they took over entire forests. Okay. As late as
That's a
1871,
problem.
a single
It
nesting
was a problem.
Yes, a single nesting ground in Sparta, Wisconsin. Listen, guys, covered 850 square miles, hosting more than 100 million birds.
No.
Okay, have you guys ever, you've been home and you look out in the front yard, and there's like 50 birds.
Yeah.
that, you know-
super creepy.
We get
right?
those once a
You
year.
get the
Yeah, about
crows
once
and
a
they're
year.
just chilling, and then they're just all over the place.
So if you can imagine that multiplied by
50,000.
quite literally a million or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what these birds were like.
Yeah.
When I'm reading these eyewitness accounts, I'm like,
Yeah. My wife
this
gets
is
creeped out when there's like sometimes like 300 birds maybe.
Yeah, it's
will
a weird-
come in
it's
the
weird.
yard and like they'll be in the trees and in the grass.
It's
Josh,
insane.
do something.
No. Usually Tim's wife and my wife just text each other. Can you
Yeah.
believe this?
So
yeah, all these birds in the yard.
I don't think that we did anything about this because this seems like too big of a problem.
Yeah,
for
I think God took care of
some.
this.
Yeah, this.
somehow.
I think nature ran its course.
We definitely took care
Oh yes, we
Oh,
did.
we
I love it.
poisoned.
Well, we took care of it.
What did we do?
Poison.
We exterminated them by hunting. But Dave, you're skipping ahead.
Hunted them.
So
out.
I'm
Hold on.
so
Here we go.
interested.
Okay, another
Yeah,
kind of just
finish.
eyewitness little account here. Same year, 1871. This is count from the same year.
Right after the Civil War.
Talking about some hunters. Okay, they're coming up upon the morning exodus of adult males, the adult male pigeons, and they were so overwhelmed by the sound and spectacle that some of them dropped their guns. Quote: "Imagine 1,000 threshing machines running under full headway, accompanied by as many steamboats groaning off steam, with an equal quota of railroad trains passing through covered bridges. Imagine these massed into a single flock, and you possibly have a faint conception of the terrific roar. I don't know how to. I mean,
I love how people used to write.
We talk
Exactly.
different. We talk differently now.
it's funny, it's
They're like all the farming equipment, all the steamships, all the locomotives you can imagine.
Like-
and you're almost there.
every loud, terrible sound that you can think of.
Right.
Just put all that together, and that's what this thing sounded like. And then he was like, and that still doesn't do this justice.
It's crazy.
So I can't imagine.
That's
I don't
pretty
know.
amazing.
It said like they're nesting things. They would just take over these trees, and they would be so thick that the limbs would fall off,
my
and just like
That's not
like
natural.
the birds.
That's
A
not
lot of the
natural.
birds would just die because they'd just get crushed when they
Yeah.
fell from the limbs. It's insane.
That's not natural.
Okay. So look, when these things came into town, the frontiersmen were like, payday. Like, I mean, we're going to eat now.
Okay.
Okay. So yes, I'll go in. I guess we already alluded to it. We hunted these things to death because there was an idea that there is literally too many
many.
birds that there's no way.
Can't get to the end of them.
We
That's what I'm
cannot get
saying.
to
If
the
they're
end of them.
flying over for 2 hours,
No.
given the
Here's
technology
why.
of the day, how are we taking all those
No.
things out?
Did they always stay together, all of them on the planet?
More or less. And that's actually, well, not all of them on the planet. I don't know about that, but they did stay in massive flocks, and that was to their demise
Okay.
because,
Joke's on them.
okay, so hunting up until about the time of the Civil War, the population was kept in check. I mean, there wasn't an issue of decimating the population. However, when the telegraph came in and railroads came in after the Civil War, then hunters, commercial hunters now, they could get word that the flock has moved to here and there.
They could get
so
ahead
then
of
they
it.
just hopped on a train and they went there
Interesting.
and they just decimated them.
Interesting.
There were so many people.
They
like
did that with
no,
buffalo too.
yeah, no
Bison,
one,
excuse me.
no one questioned it because there wasn't this idea of conservation.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the demise of this pigeon is what actually is said to have brought in large part, the conservation movement of the 20th century.
Interesting.
Okay.
So we just blasted those things.
You blasted them. Look, it said
Poisoned
I
them?
was reading
That
accounts
took a
where
lot.
people would say that you could put like a pole. I guess they were saying like a big stick or something, like literally just up in the air with low flying flocks, and you could just kill some of them.
Right. They just run into it.
Yes. But then they started getting more creative. We're humans and we're just completely evil people. And they started killing these things with like sulfur and all this, just like, I don't know, all these I don't know, that could be wrong. I'm pretty sure I read that. But just think.
Any way to get 'em.
Any way to get them. It's just like,
We can't run out.
yeah.
I would think that too, to be honest. If it took a flock 2 hours, I'm like, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
plenty
I'm
of
like,
these to
well,
go
okay,
around.
this is bigger than us at this point.
Insane. Of course they devoured crops.
Okay.
So that was a whole nother thing too. But yeah, they were ultimately overhunted, and that's what led to their ultimate
Crazy.
demise. So no one thought about this. No one thought that, holy crap, we might actually be
killing the last one.
I actually read something
I
that
got no problems with that.
that
These
hint-
things,
They sound terrible.
Well, they sound they sound resilient. You know what I'm saying? If there's
Yeah.
that many of them,
but
you
they're
gotta.
not smart. They all stay together, which
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they didn't have the brains.
I read
right?
an account. People were so just beside themselves that we could have actually hunted these things out of existence. It's said that Henry Ford thought that they were in a massive flock and they just flew off the coast and they were going towards Asia or something like that.
Okay.
And they just all drowned in the ocean because people are
his
so
theory.
disillusioned by the fact that we as humans could have done something
Yeah.
so horrible that they're like, no. They just must have flown off and they're just dumb, or I don't know what it is. And they just all drown in the ocean.
Okay.
Because there's no possible way that we could have killed all of them. Yes, there is. We're horrible and we did it. Okay. Anyways, there was no measures to stop the
was
slaughter.
too late.
And so they died. I already mentioned that it was part of their extinction was part of the modern day conservation movement. So I already mentioned that. And there are efforts now, just like the American chestnut tree, to genetically alter closely related.
We're bringing the dodo bird back.
Closely related pigeons, and then to where
I don't need that in my life.
Yeah, I know,
that's what I'm saying. Like I don't. I
people
don't
are
need these
crazy,
things.
so that they're trying to bring them back now.
Okay.
And anyway, so the last known passenger pigeon died September 1st, around about September 1st, 1914.
Rest in peace.
And it was the female was named Martha.
I was gonna ask if it had a name.
Yeah, named Martha.
I'm glad to know we were that crazy back then.
Yeah,
Like we needed to name that bird.
Well, I mean, the last one. So, died in the Cincinnati Zoo, and she was roughly guess how old this chick
This broad was
22.
29.
Whoa.
a 29-year-old pigeon.
That's old.
I mean, I don't know.
She was just chilling in the zoo.
Yeah. She
Did
was
you-
chilling in-
is there any relation to like the modern day pigeon?
I was gonna say, what do these things look like?
Yeah, I think so a little bit. I'll obviously post stuff on our blog post for the show notes, but yeah, they kind of did a little bit. But no, I mean they had some different coloring and stuff. They're beautiful birds. They really were. But Martha had palsy that made her tremble. And not once in her entire life did she lay a fertile egg.
She had the shakes.
The
So
last
poor
one
old
couldn't
Martha.
lay any good eggs, huh?
Yeah, there was actually a cash prize that they offered. I think it was $1,000 for anyone who could bring a mate to mate with Martha.
Interesting.
And that never happened. So,
It's too bad.
look, guys, it's another one of these stories like the American chestnut tree that just nobody knows about.
That's kind of crazy.
And now
It's
you do.
Really crazy.
Like something so prevalent in America
Yeah,
that no longer exists.
I know. It's sad. But
All right.
no, it's
there you
not.
go.
I don't need flocks of birds flying
Yeah,
over
the American
head
chestnut
for
was
2
really
hours.
sad to me, but this, I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need passenger pigeons.
well, anyway,
All right.
so now you know, guys.
Good story, Tim.
Good story, Tim. And I think that'll be a wrap for today's show.
That is it. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in once again to the You Can Man podcast. Please take some time to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and check out our Facebook group page. Tons of valuable information there. We'll see you next time.